Welcome to Stories and Songs by Afterglow Music. My name is Joel McCausland.
And I'm Kevin Peay, and we've been creating music for a long time.
We'd like to tell you the stories behind our songs.
Joel, let's talk about a song called I'm Going Home. I remember hearing this for the first time it's been a while.
Oh yeah, a long time ago. One of the very first ones.
We put this out on the Greatest Gift album.
Right.
Back in 1984. I think it was actually our first album with Deseret Book.
Mm-hmm.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about how this one came to be? Because it's been It's almost like for me, it's been I'll Be Home for Christmas, except I'm going home. And I'm either going back to my house or I'm going home. But I know that this has been a great song for people that are funerals. And
that's funny you'd say that. I was digging through a bunch of old music. And when I say music, that's a really loose term because the way I write these songs is typically a lyric chart with some guitar chords. Like there's no melody line, no notation, none of that. But I was digging through some of my old stuff and I found the original copy of I'm Going Home that I wrote in 1984 or 83, maybe even, I'm not sure.
Maybe we should put that in the Soft Rock Cafe or something like that.
That's probably where it belongs, right? But I pulled it out and it's all faded and you can barely read the words and the chords. But I sat down at the piano and I played it. And I thought, wow, it's funny. I play it a little differently now than I did then or that I wrote it then. And it just really brought some memories back about the message. You mentioned funerals, and I've probably done this at a dozen funerals, this song. But that wasn't what I had in mind when I wrote it. I wasn't trying to write a funeral song. I've written a couple of those, for events of people that we've lost. But this one was really, for me anyway, and I guess maybe coming out of my mission, I was thinking a little bit about this. It's I hope, a Plan of Salvation song. It's, when you talk about it, it's...
very much so.
I'm going home. And if I could keep that perspective every day, that the reason I'm here is so I can go home. And that was more than anything else, I think, what drove, for me anyway, the message of this song when I put it together.
We should listen just to a little bit of it.
That'd be great.
I'm going home. Through the darkness of the world I see the road ahead. I'm going home. And with every step I take, my load is lighter yet. I'll find my home.
Joel, what do you hope people take from this song?
Life is hard sometimes. I mean, in spite of all the promises and all the blessings and all the good things we have, part of mortality is just the challenge. It's the hard stuff. And if we're looking at life as a journey, then the stuff along the way. I was reflecting on this the other day, and my hope is this song comes across as hopeful, that it's positive, that it's looking for the light on the horizon that we're going toward. But I also hope, and some of the people who've reflected on this song and come back to me after hearing it through the years, have also talked about getting a little boost sometimes from the message of the song. We've been really blessed in the last couple of years to get to know a couple of people in particular. One of them has been an executive secretary in the Leighton Mission where we've been serving. And he was just recently released, but he's got some, I'll let that be his story, but he's got some serious illnesses that he's dealing with. And he told me one day, at first he didn't want to talk about it. He's one of those guys who's just going to soldier on and be tough about all the stuff he's dealing with. But we've gotten to know each other pretty well. And he and I were talking one day on the phone, and he said, I realized that what I'm dealing with today could shorten my life, could end my life, could take away from me some of the things I love the most in the moment, like the association with my family and the enjoyment I get out of life. In fact, I think when we talked, he was on a hike in the Andes in South America.
Wow.
And so here's a guy who's struggled so much in the last couple of years with this very serious, really fatal illness is what his doctors are telling him. And yet the conversation we had was him at 15,000 feet going up a mountain. And I thought, what a great thing, what a great metaphor for what I hoped this song would be about for people. That idea that despite the challenges, we just keep pressing forward. And that's the hope of this mortality too, is that we get to the place we want to be, which is back home with our Heavenly Father.
There's a lyric that talks about, "To the darkness of the world, I see the road ahead." Mm-hmm. Explain that a little bit more for me, will you?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us, in the gospel, you'd get some metaphors for that too, but the idea that, and not to be at all pessimistic or despairing about the life we're in, but gosh, we do understand that, right? That part of what we're supposed to do here is go through both joy and sorrow. We're supposed to learn by the things we see. So I guess for me, the ideal is never lose sight of that light. But the road between here and there, there's no guarantee that's not going to be challenging.
Great perspective.
And that's kind of what I had in mind. We was talking to my neighbor the other day too, and we've got a member of our stake presidency who's got a similar challenge, big illness and challenge. And he said to me, the thing that is so cool about this is what we're all going to learn from it. This thing, it seems like such a tragic, hard trial to go through. And I'm sure all of that is true for this good brother and his family and everybody else that's close to him. But this neighbor of mine was saying, these are the things we learn from. These are the experiences that teach us grace and teach us patience and teach us long suffering, all the things we have to go through. And I don't think that's a negative perception of the world or the plan or anything else. I think it's good to keep a sort of a realistic balance there. Otherwise, we could, as we've talked about in some other episodes, we could get a little bitter about trials. We could think, why do I have to go through this? And I think everybody's forgiven for feeling that way when they're in the middle of it. But gosh, the message really for me is like, can I learn something? Can I elevate a little bit by the things I suffer? And that's what the Savior did, really. As he went from suffering to suffering and worse things than we can possibly imagine. Those were part of the things that perfected that mission for him too, that perfected his atonement and made it available to all of us. So I don't know, nobody's ever grateful for trials like in the middle of them. That's so hard. I used to have a companion on my mission that would pray for trials. He was my trainer. And he would kneel down on the floor and he'd say, God, send us trials. I'd be like, move over. It's him asking, not me, And I just think there's that balance of, okay, when they come, let me meet them with grace.
I think I've answered somewhat of my own question in regards to that line with Cindy's parents. We had to make some decisions in regards to where they needed to go based upon their age and their circumstance, and eventually it moved them into an assisted living. And then as soon as they got to assisted living, COVID hit. And so the great shutdown took place where the intimate touch and being able to communicate properly via face-to-face was all gone. Mm-hmm. And they were left alone to a certain degree with inside their circumstance or through the crack of a window. And but they were there. And the circumstances of their health changed while they were there. And us from the outside could not get in to assist the way that we would normally go through that process. And of course, everybody had a COVID experience somehow, some way through this experience that occurred. But in their circumstance, I never forget how her mother specifically approached every day with that circumstance. And it was always optimism and a joyful attitude and a wonderful heart to be able to be grateful for whatever she got as far as communication. And her father struggled with some dementia through that process. And so in some ways, he may have been a little bit oblivious to what was happening at that point in time, but he had her by his side. And he would always tell us when we had the opportunity to talk to him how grateful he was for her. Mm-hmm. And how much she meant to him, and what a great example it was in the darkness that they faced in that COVID world specifically. They could find light with each other, and then specifically her mother would be so optimistic when we were able to talk and communicate with her in regards to to their environment and what was happening around them. Eventually, her mother passed in the COVID experience. And that was very hard for us to deal with, associated with the darkness that came through that. But through that process, there became light, of course, as we understood the plan of salvation, as we understood the gospel of Jesus Christ, as we know now, and the hope for a brighter thing ahead. And eventually her father was able to come out into another environment, and COVID settled down a little bit, and we had that intimate touch again that provided that beautiful experience of light and being together and relationship, that type stuff. And so it was interesting to watch how coming out of that darkness in that road proved for a better day over time. So anyway, thank you so much for that song.
As you were talking about that, just caused me to reflect a little bit on our moms too. We both were really blessed that way with the moms that even going through trials, they always had this kind of I'm moving forward kind of attitude, never quit or never falter in their faith or their love for us. Or we've been really blessed. And your mom, I know, recently passed away, and that's a hard thing to see. It's kind of the ultimate trial at the end. And my mom's in the later part of her life for sure. But what a great thing, what a blessing to be able to reflect on all they've given us. And part of that legacy, really for me anyway, is Diana and I've talked about this many times. My mom just never stops believing, whether it's her faith in the church and the gospel, or whether it's things are going to get better. That attitude, I'm heading towards something better. That's a blessing to me. It's kind of informed my whole life and my whole attitude about life.
Well, and I had the opportunity to observe a little bit more from the outside, your mother taking care of Papa all of those years, specific to his circumstance and his situation. And when you talk to your mother, you could never tell that anything was out of joint. Anything was out of peculiar circumstance.
Yeah, for those who may not know my family, my stepfather, we called him Papa. He passed a few years ago, but he was kind of struck down with a series of strokes when he was really a young guy. He was just past his 50th birthday when he first started having problems. And gosh, he lived till he was 80. And my mom was his caregiver for 30 years. And like you said, you see this, she's pushing him around in the wheelchair. She's loading the wheelchair in the car. She's helping him from place to place. And he got to the point where he was a big man, and my mom's a tiny woman, and there's no way she could do everything. But it wasn't until he passed that we knew the extent of up 3 or 4 times every night to take care of his needs, feeding him through a tube, some of the things that he had to deal with. And you're right. I mean, it's just that we are here for this journey. We are here to stay the course. And I talked to my mom a couple of days ago, and there are days when I know she doesn't feel good. She just turned 90, and it's weighing on her in a lot of ways physically. But when I ask her how she's doing, the first thing she says is, I'm fine. I'm just fine. And she might be feeling like garbage that day, but I'm fine, Mm-hmm. So it's a blessing. And I think you and I both share that. Our moms have been a great light in our lives that way.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you want to tell our audience about this particular song?
I think it's been one of those kind of references for me because it's so old. In fact, we were just talking a minute ago here together with all of us. My mom said to me, listening to this song, I wish you sounded this sweet at this point in your life, because it's, I think the first time I sang it, I was probably 20 years old. I probably wrote it on my mission or just after I got back. Yes. Very different. And the musical style of the song is simple, and hopefully the message is simple too. But it's just a great reflection for me on not only the message of the song, but the journey you and I've had, the opportunities we've been given, and walking this road and going home and, going through all the stuff we've gone through over the years. So Kev, I appreciate you and the experiences we've been able to share together. And this song's kind of emblematic of that in a lot of ways.
Let's let our audience hear this song one more time.
I'm going home through the darkness darkness of the world I see the road ahead. I'm going home, and with every step I take, my load is lighter yet. I'll find my home. The long and lonely road seems sometimes oh so hard to bear, but there's comfort in a mother's lullaby, and the hope that springs eternal. We can make it if we try, and find the glory waiting for us there. I'm going home, though oft times my worldly cares and sorrows press upon my soul. I'm going home, and the seed of faith inside my heart begins to swell and grow, till in the end I know I'm going home. I'm going home, but a home without a family is just a thing of stone. I can't make it alone. I'll help you home. Try to look beyond what my eyes see and gaze into your soul. I pray you'll come to know I'll help you home. The road lies on before us. The path is plain to see. As voices rise in chorus, we'll see then we'll go home, linking arms and moving forth as one in brotherhood and love. We'll find that home above. We'll find our